Hello, everyone. I'm Colin Tessier of WrestleZone.com here to talk about Monday Night Raw on this fine Monday evening. Just a reminder that my usual co-host John Clark is out tonight and tomorrow for the NXT show. He had an appendectomy last week. He said that I could share that with you all. I think I had at least mentioned it last week, but now that's officially a thing. So once again, well wishes to John. Hope he's doing well. Surgery is never fun, so hopefully he'll be feeling back to 100% as soon as possible. Surgery just it's not a good time. So again, hopefully we'll be back to normal here next week. But tonight and tomorrow, I'll be here riding solo, and we will get through it together, fueled by your comments and what you guys think, and we'll get through it as we usually do. So with that being said, I guess just right off the bat, I want to remind you all this show, what Kevin would do here, is available on all of our platforms: SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, all the good stuff. You know where to find us. So, and also a reminder that WrestleMania Backlash is this Sunday, so definitely planning on doing a show for that. If John is up to it, I will ask him if he wants to do that. But if not, I will definitely be here for that, because that's on paper a big show. We'll talk about the build in general. But if John, if you're watching this, you're already getting a bunch of well wishes from Steven and Brian. Just like I said, if you're just joining us, John had surgery last week, so he's again out tonight and tomorrow. So again, hopefully he'll be back as soon as possible. So like I said, WrestleMania Backlash, again, whether John is up to it or not, I'll be aim to be here on Sunday. I should be. I'm going to be covering the show. So there you go. Tonight, even with a scheduling shift, I was doing play-by-play, whereas I usually do news coverage. I was still able to do the show tonight. So that's what we try to make it work as best we can. So like I was saying, we had, this go-home show for WrestleMania Backlash on Sunday. Now, I saw a lot of people commenting that the build kind of going into the show was a little lackluster, and Eddie's saying the show kind of snuck up on him. He was saying that, that it was fast, like that it feels like we just had WrestleMania, and kind of gathering what you're saying there, Eddie. And yeah, I mean, it's the beginning of May now. WrestleMania, hard to believe, was a month ago. Technically today, I guess, day one of WrestleMania, a month ago today, which is pretty crazy to think about. That's how quickly time has gone. And in some ways, the build really has been pretty lackluster, or at least, WrestleMania. I mean, I feel like WrestleMania Backlash, literally being the name, it always does feel kind of like it was the same way with Backlash back in the day. It's always kind of the aftermath show, like it's rematches. It's kind of the like a hangover show, I guess. It's rematches, and it's just like it feels like in a lot of ways, news stories don't really start to whatever comes after WrestleMania Backlash. In this case, I think that's Hell in a Cell. So we've got a bunch of WrestleMania rematches. We have the 6-man tag that was the tag team unification match. And we'll talk about that as well. And speaking of that, we have Steven saying, they could make the big 6-man tag more interesting. Should have had all the titles on the line. I thought that's what they were going to do. I talked about that on the Friday show after SmackDown. Like for a split second, I thought they were going to do some kind of winner take all kind of thing, even though that'd be kind of logistically weird. At least then that'd be more interesting, a little more consequential. Nope, just a normal 6-man tag. So I don't. Again, sure, it's gonna be a good match. Just lacking a little stakes there. John, my co-host here in the chat here, saying he thanks you all for the support, and says hopefully he'll be back next week. Shout out to John. I hope you're feeling all right. But I agree, Nesha. It feels like we don't have a pay-per-view or premium event, whatever you want to call them, on Sunday. Definitely a pretty lacking go-home show in that regard. Even the main event, I thought the main event match was fine to good. And yet, none of the women in the main event match had, or I should say, have a match at WrestleMania Backlash. So, for a go-home show, I call me old-fashioned. I usually like, someone that's on the card to like be standing tall within the show. It's like a hard sell for the pay-per-view or the event in this case. And they could add a match to the card. Eddie points that out as well. And that's true. I'm looking up the card right now to see what all has been added, but I don't think there are any title matches right on the card at the moment. They were going to have the tag title unification, and they changed that to the 6-man. And looking at the card here, obviously you have AJ Styles and Edge. Okay, so they do have Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey for the SmackDown Women's title. That's the I Quit match. But at this very moment, that looks to be the only title match on the card, which is pretty weird. Roman Reigns not defending his title and now having unified the world titles. That kind of limits your max number of title matches. You're automatic kind of, in theory, limiting that by one or reducing that by one. But definitely a fair question from Brian saying, how do you not get Bianca, the Raw Women's Champion, on the card? I could see Sonya getting a rematch, maybe. Like, I don't know. We'll talk about it in a bit. Her powers as an authority figure were kind of suspended tonight. She was being investigated. So I don't know if she'll be able to book herself into another title match. So other than that, I don't really know how they could really quickly book a match for Belair on the show that would make sense. I'm not doing this kind of doing a Becky Lynch match cold. They could do that. Now I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying these are some options. But no, it is definitely odd. You think about Theory. Theory's been on Raw, the U.S. champion. He's been featured in the storyline. He doesn't have a match yet. Maybe he'll face. Well, actually, no, I can't even say that. Mustafa Ali lost the championship contender match tonight, so probably no title match there. Ricochet not feeding anybody the IC champion on SmackDown, so not really looking like any very clear path to adding another title match. I could easily add another match of some sort, but DJ pitching, maybe they do Asuka, Becky versus Belair. I mean, that'd be a great match. 3 of your top women's talent, absolutely. But just to do that with very little story. I mean, again, they could do it, but that feels like a match they would probably want to build up and have weeks and weeks of video packages and interviews and whatnot, because there'd be a lot of story that's something they could really do a lot with, and to just do that kind of, if they announced that on Wednesday out of the blue, that'd be pretty weird. But I don't know. I'm hopeful. Let's see, the match card right now is 6 matches. In theory, you would get maybe 7 main match or main card matches and maybe 1 pre-show match. We got some predictions here for that 6-man. That's just saying hopefully Drew beats Roman. I'm not sure if you mean in general for the title or on Sunday at least. I think maybe in some ways the RK-Bro / Drew should win, kind of to set that up. Well, I was talking about this on the Friday show. To me, it's weird that they're kind of getting into this now, because I kind of thought they would delay the Drew McIntyre feud for the United Kingdom show, and that's in September, and that's a long ways away. Brian points out this was definitely something I saw a lot going on tonight. People were talking about this on Twitter. They might be saving the big quote-unquote title matches for SummerSlam, and that's fair. I can't blame them for that. It's just when you have WrestleMania Backlash, Hell in a Cell, Money in the Bank is becoming a bigger show, so they feel like they might want to do some big stuff for that. But to completely hold off on some things, and I guess I would say what would those be? And I'm curious to hear what you all would think, what the big title matches would be. Roman and Cody would easily be one. That one to me really seems like if they want to kind of fast track Cody a little bit, that would be pretty easily a big money match for SummerSlam. Some other ones. Maybe Bianca and Rhea Ripley, if they build that up. I'm not really sure. They have some options here. They got a lot of big stars. I hope they don't draw out the tag title unification that much, because, again, that's a long ways away. They were already building that up for a whole month, and now we're kind of kicking that down the road a little bit. Steven, I was talking about this on the Friday show as well. I feel like they will probably drag out Drew and Roman and Drew. Steven saying is both for Money in the Bank and Hell in a Cell, so that would be June and July. Oh boy, that is that's a long time, and I can see it. That's what they do. I'm just saying. We talked about a lot here, but I don't know if they really have. I don't want to be too critical, but anytime we see these feuds go on that long, it feels like they kind of fizzle out if they're even hot to begin with. So that'd be my concern with that. But Nesha says maybe we'll have Drew pin Roman on Sunday, then you get a singles title match. That would make sense. That'd be a very easy justification to set that up. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he gets double teamed or something. Maybe he accidentally gets super kicked by the Usos. I don't know. They could easily have him get pinned somehow without making him look too quote unquote weak or whatever. Eddie predicting that 6-man would go 30 minutes at least to make from the 3-hour pay-per-view. I mean, it could be if you remember at some point during the heart of the COVID pandemic, they'd be 2.5-hour pay-per-views, which are pretty nice, kind of in and out, boom, pretty breezy. Rather the 3-hour, let alone 4-hour WrestleManias, so sometimes I'd rather they not just load up a card with matches unnecessarily. If the match doesn't really need to be a thing, sometimes it's better to just not have it on the card at all. And that may sound a little, a little harsh or a little, odd, but like, I'd rather like have meaningful matches and focus on those than just like some random thrown together matches, at least in some ways. If it's someone I really like, sure, I want them to be on the card, but like at the same time, kind of throwing stuff together, not always the best call, at least for me. Sidebar, shout out to The Rock and Pat McAfee also. Pretty cool. They share a birthday. A bunch of birthday wishes for both The Rock and Pat McAfee. Big fan of The Rock here. He's turning 50, a big 5-0. Pretty crazy to believe. Dwayne The Rock Johnson, the great one, the Brahma Bull, doing great things in Hollywood right now. Young Rock, if you've seen that they're sharing some promo images, they've got like The Undertaker, who looks really weird, and Steve Austin, and Triple H is going to be on the show tomorrow night, on Tuesday night for Young Rock there on NBC. I haven't gotten to check that one out myself. If any of you have, I hope you've enjoyed it. I feel like it's definitely right up my alley, obviously, but obviously shout out to The Rock. He is an absolute, trendsetter, trailblazer, awesome guy. But it was cool to have him, even just the very brief video, like little, not even video packages, like vignettes over night, just to acknowledge that, just to say, hey, The Rock is still part of the WWE family. But unfortunately, at least in some ways, not really part of the present day project for the most part here. But talking about WrestleMania Backlash, talking about maybe throwing on some matches for the card. Fernando says he's not for wasting title matches on pre-shows. I mean, yeah, I don't even see what they could do there, unless it's like a U.S. title match or an IC title match, like, again, that you just kind of threw together pretty randomly. We just had Ricochet defend the IC title against Shanky, so like I feel like the bar is pretty low in terms of people they would like kind of set up a title match for in that sense. Maybe to get a Ricochet Jinder rematch, they kind of like seem like that might be a thing they're going for on SmackDown last week. One option would be maybe you do Ali and Ciampa on pre-show. D2 points on. I mean, they've got, if you want to call it a feud, I mean, Ciampa's attacked Ali twice. Last week was like a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing, and they just attacked him again tonight. Might as well talk about that. So we had Miz TV. Last week, Mustafa Ali returned to the show for the first time. Well, he returned to TV for the first time since October. Pretty crazy. And also for the first time since he requested his release in January. Miz and Austin Theory gave him some crap for that. It's and I appreciate at least kind of the acknowledgement of, hey, this is a thing that happened. So this week, Miz came out and said, hey, I was giving Theory some good advice and you interrupted. So he called Mustafa Ali down. He was messing with him and he was saying, people forget they still work here. Or that's what Mustafa Ali said. People forget you still work here. Then we're going back and forth. Theory comes out and says that he had the Miz's loss last week, struck from the record, sets up a championship contenders match. And Mustafa Ali loses, so he'll not be getting a title match, at least in the immediate future. And then Ciampa attacked him again with zero explanation. So that was one thing I kind of didn't love. It's like, again, call me old-fashioned. Like, I like kind of, in some ways, kind of linear. It's like, okay, something happens, and I want to know why. So it's like, week 1, he attacks. Week 2, ideally, I like to know why. Like, we haven't heard Ciampa explain it. Unless he said something on Raw Talk, which I haven't really seen anything. I could be wrong on that, but like this feels like 2 pretty random attacks, no explanation, no motivation that we really know of. But at the very least, it's going to be a good match. Like if it's a match that happens on Raw, or even like let's say it's the WrestleMania Backlash kickoff show, it's going to be a good match. Both guys are great. Very, very talented. Eddie says it'll be a banger. I saw that opinion going around tonight. Both guys are great. I really like them a lot. I'm hopeful that this will be something. I've said it on this show. I said it on the NXT show a lot. Big fan of I guess Ciampa now, just in this case. No Tommaso anymore. Just Ciampa. Big fan of his. Really, really enjoyed his NXT run. Again, I'm like not digging this 100% so far. It's like you're going to have him kind of randomly he showed up as a babyface and it's like randomly turns heel. Pretty weird there. I'm hopeful. I mean, I feel like in a lot of ways bringing Mustafa Ali back to TV, they're not doing it to like really push him. I feel like they're doing it to like, I guess, kind of like get the mileage out of him. Like he's under contract, and unless, I hate to say it, / until if it happens, if they decide to release him, I would imagine like they would prefer to get their money's worth. And that may sound very cold and like, robotic, but like it's a business. WWE has made that abundantly clear. So I think that's a fair mindset. Like, why would we not use this guy? He is very talented. He's a relatively new character like that you can still kind of shake up the show by like featuring him. So like, it seems like a win-win in that case. So he lost cleanly here. It was a handicap match, to be fair, and then Ciampa attacks him. Brian says he's looking forward to this match whenever it happens. Again, I'm hoping we get some explanation next week. Just like give me something. Like why is he targeting him? Why is he deciding to go after Ali here? And hopefully they come up with a good motive for it, because to me that's half the battle. Sure, it will be a great match, but like, if it's not a really good story, I feel like that makes it a little harder to really get invested, and I feel like that kind of harms the outcome of whatever happens. Like, yeah, it could be a great match, but like if it's not a good story, where does it really leave you? So DJ points out, ever since the Ciampa lost, no one will survive. His WWE has gone downhill. I mean, hey, no arguments here. I love that theme song, but I mean, like, he lost it, and he was doing pretty well at first. He's teaming up with Braun Breaker on Raw, picking up some wins. He beat, I think, Robert Roode at one point. They beat Roode and Ziggler in a tag team match. So, something you can kind of hang your hat on. He was doing pretty well. Like I said, just randomly got called up after that as like a bit generic baby face, had one segment, and then kind of randomly turned heel. Again, a reason for what we've been seeing here, him attacking Ali, very, very stark attitude change would be appreciated. But I mean, that's just half the equation here. We got Eddie wondering, do I think we'll see The Miz versus Austin Theory in this case for the US title? I think that would make sense. I mean, that it does feel like we are getting some signs of like dissension, or Theory's like kind of trying to help the Miz, but not really. And like Miz could easily decide, oh, I want the title, so I'm gonna challenge for it. And maybe Miz will try and like kind of mislead him a little bit, or like trying to give him advice and like try to get Theory to give him a title shot. Like I think there's a lot that can do with that. And working with someone like the Miz would really help Theory. I mean, say what you will about the Miz, and I respect him, and I'm a fan of him, but like people have tended to be pretty critical about him. But Miz is a veteran. He's been there. Probably he is one of their more established veterans on the entire roster. So to be working with him would really help Theory just in the ring, and also in terms of like legitimacy. I mean, I think he faced Big E very, very right after this push that he's on now started back in Survivor Series. So I do kind of think that would be very good for him. Miz, former WWE champion, like that's legit, and someone that could really kind of help him in that sense. Nash predicts Miz will turn on Theory. Even if it's not like a turn, like I don't think Miz is gonna be a babyface, but it's like Miz would likely want to challenge for the title. So I think that makes a lot of sense. So that it seems like that might be a little bit more of a slow burn kind of thing. And yeah, Steven wonders who would be the babyface. I mean, they don't really need, like, it doesn't need to be anything all that complicated. Like, I don't know if it needs to be this long story. It could just be like, they're kind of crossing paths right now, and Miz could like say, oh, okay, well, we've been working together. Now I want a title shot. More like a transitional thing. Nothing too crazy like that. Of the two, I would say the Miz, if I had to choose, like, who should be the babyface. If only because Theory is just such a natural heel. Like he's just so easy to boo, and I think he plays his part very well. So and Miz can do both parts pretty well, and so I think that would work. But at the same time, they could just do shades of gray. Miz wants a title shot. Theory is kind of a cocky young champion, and I think that's what we can kind of do with that. I've been seeing this comment going around a lot, especially on our post shows here. Eddie thinks come SummerSlam, Theory will challenge John Cena for the U.S. Championships, or maybe defend in this case. Maybe Cena will come back and like challenge for the title. The match has been hit, like they've been seen to like literally said Theory's like has more talent than he ever had on Twitter. Theory hasn't said it in many interviews. He's always been a big fan of Cena. It's such a big influence for him. And yeah, that I guess that would be a great moment if Theory beats him. That would definitely be like a career-making win for him. And I think we talked about this last week as well. Like that would make Theory one, but then he would like need to win. Like he would need to beat Cena in a lot of ways. Not that he wouldn't benefit from losing. If he's facing Cena, that's a win-win either way. But if you're trying to really make him as the next John Cena, How do you do that? You beat John Cena. That to me feels kind of linear like that sense. So yeah, we still got a little ways away. I'm not exactly sure about John Cena's schedule. I've heard rumors that he might be coming back. I don't know. I haven't heard anything official in that regard, but would be very happy to have him come back, especially for SummerSlam. That'd be fun. And I think a match with Theory would be one of the more logical options at this point. So here's hoping it happens. But that is just one of many noble things to talk about tonight. So we're talking about, Miz and Theory working together. Two other people that worked together tonight were AJ Styles and Finn Balor. This is something we've been talking about for several weeks now. AJ Styles has really, really needed help for weeks. He needs help, fending off Judgment Day, fending off, Edge and Damian Priest. Edge cut promos tonight. I didn't realize he was just completely roasting the state that he lives in, North Carolina. I forgot that he actually lives there. He was trashing the town. It was Greensboro, North Carolina, and he was saying that they're all lemmings, and he was saying that AJ Styles shouldn't be a lemming, but he's too determined to back out of the match now. So WrestleMania Backlash, he's rushing into Judgment and Pain. Styles faces Damian Priest in a match where if Styles wins, Priest will be banned from ringside or barred from ringside at WrestleMania Backlash. Pretty good match, hard-fought match. Styles wins. Edge and Priest attack him. Finn Balor makes a save. And what do they do after the match? They do the too sweet. Shout out to the Bullet Club for that one. Nando says too sweet. Eddie says Bullet Club reunion too sweet. We got a lot of that going around here in the chat here. Bunch of people loving the Bullet Club here. And as they finally, Finn and AJ, Bullet Club is for life. Bullet Club is the talk of the town right now. They had a big night over in New Japan on Saturday with Juice Robinson joining. I got a comment about Juice, and I'll address him in a minute. But this is cool. I mean, I'll admit the Balor Club thing was right. It was in my dark period of time when I wasn't watching wrestling. So anything that I know about it is kind of secondary, or kind of heard about it. And I understand the references and stuff like that. I know about Bullet Club. I know all about that. But the WWE version of Balor Club, that kind of stuff, and Styles and Balor, a little bit of outside of my direct experience. But obviously I knew about Styles and the Good Brothers, as they're known now, Gallows and Anderson. But at the very least, on the surface, I can say, oh, cool, they're doing the too sweet. I hope they keep working together. It's cool. And I'm hoping we get a tag team match out of this. I hope they kind of keep working together. We talked about this last week as well. I can also see Finn kind of turning heel because the Demon fits very, very naturally in a lot of ways in Judgment Day, in what Edge is going for right now. It's this very gothic and dark thing. So maybe we'll do a temporary alliance and then a more maybe turn. So not sure what's up. Bullet Club's on Impact every week. They're on Impact. They're doing stuff in New Japan. And now we got Balor Club kind of reuniting here. Should mention, actually, sidebar about maybe some fancy booking. Eddie says, what if Cody reunites with Balor and Styles? That will be too sweet. Well, that would be fun. I don't know if I see it happening. It feels like Cody is very much doing his own thing. I don't see him forming a stable or doing anything kind of like that for a while. I feel like we're on the American Nightmare kind of honeymoon tour, if you will. Everyone's happy Cody's back, and he's being pushed as the top baby face. And Balor and Styles right now are baby faces. I'm not saying that they're mutually exclusive, but I like the idea. I don't know if I see it happening anytime soon, but that'll be cool. Also, worth pointing out that Judgment Day very well could add another member at Backlash, and I agree with Steven saying he thinks it'll be Ciampa. That would make a lot of sense, and that was first reported by Fightful Select. So that would seem to be most likely. Rhea Ripley, another name that was in that same report, so I could easily see that. I think Ciampa would make sense, and in some ways, I wish that he I don't know, I'm curious to see how they kind of shakes out. They've got him kind of feuding with Mustafa Ali right now. Then he might potentially join Judgment Day. Is he gonna do both? I don't know. And he could. It's just kind of weird to see how that would work. Maybe it would be better if he just had a send off at Stand and Deliver and then NXT, and then showed up at Backlash and joined Judgment Day. I think that would have made a little more sense. But nonetheless, I'm hoping he joins Judgment Day. The gimmick's still a little goofy to me, with the flickering lights and the black light and stuff like that. But there's no doubt that working with Edge would help, establish him on Raw. So can't deny that. And you think about maybe facing AJ Styles here, as Eddie says, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be, two great wrestlers. Can't complain about that. I I'd be happy with that. Speaking of Bullet Club, just for a minute, I did get a question about Juice Robinson, who joined Bullet Club at Wrestling Dontaku. I'm not probably mispronouncing that. That was in New Japan. Nando wants to know my thoughts on Juice Robinson. I don't know a lot about New Japan, but I did go to New Japan in Philadelphia, and he was one of the guys that I saw live and in person. And if y'all know me, I don't go to a lot of shows, so like I felt a little attached to him. I've also listened to a bunch of his interviews talking about New Japan Strong. So Juice seems like a really cool guy, and it was cool to see him in person. Like he seems like very like charismatic, and he seems very, very, very talented. I'm not all that familiar with him, like kind of beyond that. I know kind of like of his background. Again, I got to see him in person, so I guess at least in a vague sense, big fan of Juice Robinson. I think is really cool. We call him the Juice Man. It's a cool name, and he's doing great things in New Japan. I'm glad that he's still there. He worked everybody. He did an interview where he basically said that he was going to be taking less dates, and he literally said that he didn't really feel the desire to face anybody anymore. Swerve. He's in Bullet Club now. He's working us all, so that's pretty cool. Shout out to Juice Robinson. If you're not familiar with him, I definitely recommend looking up some of his matches because he seems like a cool guy and he's very, very talented. So, but as for this Judgment Day thing, we got Eddie saying since Priest is barred, Ciampa won't interfere, and screw AJ Styles again, and then maybe get Hell in a Cell, AJ and Edge. I think that makes sense. Yeah, I mean. Yeah, like that makes sense. Speaking of, we're talking about earlier, maybe they draw things out sometimes, but at least like when it makes sense to do so, I'm not as upset about it. And if it's done well, I'm not as upset about it. And at the very least, I'm not going to complain about seeing AJ Styles and Edge again. And in Hell in a Cell, they can do great things. I really enjoyed Edge versus Rollins in Hell in a Cell, so I'm sure that'd be a great match as well. But you think about some of the other stables you got here. You got Edge and Judgment Day. You got the Bloodline. Now this, at least potential for a Bullet Club or Balor Club kind of thing. They got some fascinating stuff in the works potentially. But at the very least, we do know we've got Judgment Day kind of on the rise. The Bloodline still dominant. And yeah, it would be cool to have Balor Club kind of, rise up again in some ways, or then kind of reestablish some kind of Bullet Club-like thing. Will that happen? I don't know. Like maybe they never will. But I'm saying I think that'd be pretty cool. Gavin puts on maybe you have it be in both the men and women's divisions. You have Rhea join Judgment Day, as has been rumored and reported by Fightful Select, and maybe Liv Morgan join the Bullet Club. I don't know about the Liv Morgan one. I think Rhea's a great fit. Liv, like I'm biased. Like I've talked about it before. Like not the biggest fan of Liv. She's like shrieks in all her matches, and it's kind of becoming a pet peeve of mine. And I know it's not fair to like knock someone like for that alone, but like I'm thinking about that. I'm like, oh, Bullet Club is so cool, and then you think about Liv Morgan being that. I'm like, maybe not. I don't know, but it'd be cool to have the factions kind of like be multifaceted like that. I think that'd be pretty cool though. But next up, the most important question of the night here: who wants to speak with Zeke? Ezekiel, the brother of Elias, the younger brother of Elias. He was in a 6-man tag team match at the beginning of the show with the Street Profits facing Kevin Owens and Alpha Academy. They had a backstage interaction. Just off the match pretty quickly. This was the first of two six-person tag team matches, and I'll talk about the main event in a bit here. This match really felt like a showcase for Ezekiel. Like, I don't know. I guess I didn't really realize it till tonight, but like the dude is like ripped. He looks like, and I saw this joke last week, he's like a dollar store version of the Ultimate Warrior. He's got the tassels. He's got like, not the face paint, but like the body. Like, I don't know. It feels like this match, they were really trying to build him up as like a legitimate player. This match for Ezekiel felt like back in the day when you would see like, someone like a John Cena before he was like a top star, like when you would put someone in a match and they would get all the offense and they would like kind of like get the rub, if you will. He got pinned. Admittedly, it was kind of a cheap pin. They kind of cheated to win. But even though he got pinned, I still feel like it was definitely a showcase for Ezekiel. He came out of it looking great, and like more so than before, I was like, wow, they are really trying to really build up Ezekiel as an actual like potential, maybe not a top star, but at least a prominent star, someone that's a legitimate player. So, I wasn't necessarily expecting that. DJ points out that, he even did the stinger splash tonight. He was doing all sorts of stuff. He did like this delayed stalling vertical suplex like Bobby Lashley did. Like, they're like really trying to build him up. Like, and I was like, how far can this guy go? Like, I don't know. But speaking of, we talked about earlier, maybe some matches for WrestleMania Backlash. Stevens is maybe able to do Ezekiel, Kevin Owens. I see that as more than a pre-show match. I mean, I think you could easily put that on the main card. Right now, it's 6 matches, and like, not all the matches are going to be super long. I don't see Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss going super long. Same with Bobby Lashley and Omos. So I think you could easily put on another match on the main card. And I mean, Ezekiel and Kevin Owens, that's definitely one. Kevin Owens, he just faced Steve Austin in WrestleMania, so I think that would make a lot of sense to do that on the main card, and then if needed, do something else for the pre-show. I think that makes sense. These guys have been feuding since the night after WrestleMania, so that would make a lot of sense to put them on the card, to add a little something to it. In some ways, I guess I'm surprised they did not do that tonight. Kevin remains determined to prove that Ezekiel is indeed Elias, and even though they won the match, he did not prove that that Ezekiel is a liar. So as DJ points out, everyone's still stormed off tonight, so he remains very determined to, in theory, unmask Ezekiel, I guess. But Brian says that Owens is making the Zeke storyline work. It's way more entertaining than it should be. I was down on it at first, but like, Kevin Owens is a national treasure. Zeke, I mean, again, tonight, even at least in the in-ring perspective, I was definitely impressed in that regard. And I was like, maybe I was looking at this the wrong way. I was like, because I didn't know how seriously they were about building Ezekiel. And I left tonight thinking, like, it seems like they actually want to build him up. For better or worse, at least like it seems like that intention is there. So at least with that, there's some investment, I guess. I don't know. It's what I think of, interesting to think about. Again, what that ceiling for him could be. But Gavin, with a good question. What's the end game? Like, where's this going to go? Is he eventually going to say he's walking with Elias? Is he eventually going to be Elias? Like, I don't know. You've got to think Elias will come back eventually, right? Like, they're not just going to like get rid of him forever. They could. But I mean, ironically, in some ways, like, Elias is very entertaining in his own way, and he had the guitar and everything. But like, again, maybe I'm overreacting, but tonight I'm like, I don't know. I felt maybe like more sold on like the prospect of Ezekiel, and like I felt more impressed really than in some ways than I ever was with Elias. Although I often really enjoyed Elias's it was like a Greek chorus, kind of like singing about what was going on with the storyline. Sometimes he didn't always do that. Sometimes he just roasted like the local city, but like sometimes when he'd be backstage singing out the storylines, I just thought that was kind of fun. So no, I kind of hope Elias comes back someday, but at the very least, definitely impressed by Elias, or by Ezekiel here, by Ezekiel. Nezha says that it has to end with Elias returning, but Eddie says, look, maybe it's, oh boy, now we're getting wacky. Eddie says Ezekiel will clone Elias back from the dead, and Elias will come back soon as the twin brother of Ezekiel. Now, that's venturing a bit into the realm of sci-fi, but I was thinking for a moment, I was like, what if they do they try to do double duty where like somehow, and we talked about this, I think the first night was like, what if he kind of like has a fake beard or something and he puts it on, he comes out as Elias, and the later show comes out without the beard, clean shaven, and Ezekiel again. I think that's something that they could do with that. Don't know about the prospects of cloning anybody, but again, it is, ironically, it's also kind of funny to think like, in canon, at least from what they told us, Elias is dead. And in an appearance on the Pat McAfee show, Ezekiel said that Elias is missing. So that door is open for him to return at some point. Not to point ask if Elias has a real life brother. I don't know. I don't think so. I could be wrong. If anybody wants to look that up right now, I can't confirm or deny that. If you watch his Ezekiel's appearance on Pat McAfee's show, McAfee apparently and his crew, some of his crew knew Elias back in the day, like before he was in WWE, and they were just laughing because like they kind of know like, all right, like this is we're being played here a little bit, but I don't know. I'm curious to see where it goes, but Ezekiel adding fresh life to Raw, and someone else is adding fresh life to Raw, at least in some ways, is Veer. Veer came again tonight on Raw. Came again. He's escaped the realm of IKEA. He is now on the red brand, and he picked up a win over another local opponent here. DJ points out the Veer's opponent tonight reminded him of the night when James Ellsworth debuted. And I'm trying to, what was the guy's name? It was like they gave the guy, like they focused on his name. They gave him a promo. It was Bert Hansen. Bert Hansen, a Greensboro, North Carolina native. A brief promo about how he was dreaming of this moment, and he used to work at a barbecue shop or something down the street. Veer dominated him and won. And again, we talked about this last week. Rey Mysterio, like they set up that feud, and then Rey was reportedly kind of like not cleared to compete. So I guess that's kind of on the back burner right now. Not all that much to note here. Another one for Veer. You know, I'm curious to see where this goes, but nothing to really get into. It's like another one for Veer. In some ways, I guess I kind of wish that they'd put him against someone else. People that are in the 24/7 title scene or something, other than just, local competitors all the time. DJ asked who the fans want to see in face. I think I saw that where they're like, who's next for Veer? And that's the question. Who is next? Eddie points out there are at least rumors going on right now that Rey Mysterio will be back for WrestleMania Backlash. Could have Veer versus Rey at the show on Sunday. Maybe. I could see that. That makes sense. I think this week and last week both, I was surprised that Rey didn't come out after the match to like keep the ball rolling there. But they could easily do that as like a surprise for the show or something like that. I hope to see it, and I don't know if Veer would beat Mysterio. I mean, that'd be a big way to solidify him. Maybe a little too much too soon in terms of like Mysterio, living legend. Veer still very much an unknown quality, but Brian says fear the Veer is again here. He's picking up a very dominant win, but Veer, Ezekiel, two kind of one a newcomer, and they're both like newcomers and also like returns to Raw because they've both been on Raw. It's a weird time. You're right. It's a weird time. Steven says they could have a handicap match. I mean, yeah, we'll probably see that at some point. But right now, Rey's kind of out of action. Dominic off TV at the very least. So we'll see what happens there. I think they both had some kind of like stem cell procedure. I think one of you guys told me that when Rey's absence began. So hopefully they'll both be back soon. But that as always, just one part of the 3-hour saga that we've got here on Raw. Nesha points out Dana Brooke wants a divorce. The 24/7 title scene shenanigans continued tonight after the wedding, the double commitment ceremony. I think that was 2 weeks ago now. Truth tried to get his baby back. He tried so hard. He just wants his baby back. As Nesha points out, Dana Brooke escaped last week, but then she was arguing with Reggie, her husband, backstage tonight. Reggie wanted a honeymoon. Dana was arguing and she was getting upset with him. Then she got upset with R-Truth, saying that she tried to pin him last week, and he said, I just wanted my baby back. Nikki ASH snuck up. Nikki ASH, formerly known as Nikki Cross, and pinned Dana Brooke to win the title. Nikki ASH won the Raw Women's title less than a year ago, and she held the Women's Tag Team title less than like 6 months ago. And here we are. Now she's winning the 24/7 title scene, 24/7 title to begin with. And then right away we had a rematch, and she lost the title right back to Dana Brooke. And then everyone tried to pin Dana after the match, and Truth kind of helped her get away. Reggie tried to betray Dana Brooke. Dana saw through it. And yes, she said that she wanted a divorce. DJ seems very upset about this. He says, how about that depressing divorce? If you want to talk about depressing forced divorces, let's talk about Index and how about Dexter Lumis getting released on Friday. We already talked about that a little bit on the Friday show. But this divorce, by comparison, it's fine. I've made no Asuka. I'm not really feeling this. But the saga continues. After this match, we're backstage. And as DJ points out, now it turns out that R-Truth is the prenup / the law specialist / the divorce attorney guy / the registered minister. Who even knows how many hats he wears? My goodness. He asked Reggie if he had a prenup, seemingly to kind of suggest he could get the title back as part of this divorce. I'm curious to see where that goes. I did enjoy Law and Otis when Miz and Otis had like their like trial over the Money in the Bank briefcase. I thought that was fun. I think this will be substantially less entertaining just because of what we've seen so far. At least they're finding ways to keep it progressing and they're not doing the same exact thing every week. I'm trying very hard to be positive, but again, not feeling it 100%. Good for these talent to be on TV, but this segment immediately, like they were walking backstage and they walked past Nikki ASH after she lost the title, and who walks up to Nikki but Doudrop? Doudrop is back. As far as I can recall, she hasn't been on TV since like Elimination Chamber, and that was the very end of February or so. So Nikki obviously very upset that she just lost her title. And Doudrop says, "Are you ready to take things more seriously?" And Nikki says yes. So it seems like they are going to be a tag team, which is good because they only quite literally have 2 tag teams in the women's division at this point. So I think this is interesting. I think it's always a good thing when you have, at worst, you're taking 2 people that you're not really doing anything with, throwing them together and seeing if it works. And again, especially when you only have these 2 teams, they need to add a little more depth, and that's what Brian's pointing out here. Like they need to do something, right, to if not fix, at least kind of like put a band-aid on the women's tag division. So at least this will give them someone for the champions to face, other than at this point Shayna Baszler and Natalya are the only other team. So that's a plus. Hopefully they do it with some other teams, or they call up some people, because like again, they're definitely lacking in that department. But DJ wonders, are we going to see maybe like another shift for Nikki Cross here? We're going to see Psycho Nikki Cross again. Maybe. I mean, Doudrop literally said, "Are you ready to take things more seriously?" Dressing up as a not superhero, not quite that. But Eddie says he agrees. He says we would think that he will see a crazy Nikki Cross here. Maybe we'll get her repackaged back into the crazy lunatic from like Insanity Nikki Cross. I think that'd be good. I think the Nikki ASH thing was worth a try, and it, to me at least, never really took off. So maybe kind of hitting the reset button in some ways would be in her favor. So I did think that's kind of, at least we took a step towards doing that tonight, and I think that's probably where we're going to go. And I think it's good because, again, you could have them face at the champions at this point being Sasha and Naomi. So I think we'll be able to be seeing that at some point soon. But we're talking about the six-man open show. Another 6-man, I mentioned this earlier, RK Bro and Drew McIntyre facing the Usos and Roman Reigns. The Bloodline open the show here. Very, very brief promo because RK Bro attacked them from behind. Drew McIntyre comes out and they brawl, setting up the 6-man for Sunday. Again, talk about this on Friday. I think it's a bummer that we're building up for the tag title unification match for WrestleMania Backlash, and now that's not going to be happening, at least right now. It'll be a good match. Again, I'm skeptical about them drawing out Drew versus Roman too much. I think that's probably what's going to happen. Unfortunately, sometimes it's like I feel like it's pretty obvious where they're going to go with things. Roman's great, Drew's great. I just don't know if I would want to see it in theory last from now as part of the 6-man all the way through, potentially, well, if we're saying potentially September for the Clash at the Castle in Wales, the UK show. That's a long time. But Brian he liked the brawl. He liked the brawl with RK Bro and the Bloodline here alongside Drew McIntyre. I have no complaints about that. It was fine. It made it clear that they're guys who want to fight each other. And at the end of the day, you don't need much more than that. They don't like each other. RK Bro has been feuding with the Usos. Roman Drew have history, so very simple story. And maybe in some ways that's how you can keep it going. After Sunday, it's like, okay, then you can dive into more of a specific story in that case. But it'll be a good match. Again, I think they kind of hurt themselves in some ways by not having the titles on the line. So bit of a bummer, but I'm sure it'll be a great match. That leads us to another match for WrestleMania Backlash. Bobby Lashley versus Omos. Cedric Alexander reminded everybody about the Hurt Business tonight by saying to MVP, like, oh, remember the good old days when we were the Hurt Business, we were together. And he said, I got a match with Bobby Lashley tonight. I'm going to show you. I want to impress you. MVP said, we'll be watching, and kind of at least the implication that, like, they might work together a little bit again. Bobby Lashley faces Cedric Alexander. Right when the bell rings, almost his music plays, Cedric gets upper hand. MVP cuts a promo. Pretty standard fare, and he's like, oh, how far the mighty has fallen, and he's cutting promo during the match, which feels a little weird to me. It's like, seems a little silly. It's like talking on the mic and that's happening. Like, it's a heel thing to do, and like I get it, but it's like, as a viewer, it's a little like distracting, I guess. But as you would expect, Bobby Lashley overcame the distractions. Steven says that Cedric was broken in half with a spear. Not just a spear, but Bobby Lashley did the thing where, like, he slammed him into the ring post. And it looked brutal. Like, he like flipped and hit the ground pretty hard. Cedric, very, very talented guy. I always think he deserves better than he gets. But going for Lashley, after the match, Lashley kind of calls almost to the ring. And they don't. They're saving it for Sunday. So we'll see what happens there. As I said, for WrestleMania, I think Almost should win if you're really trying to build him up as this next like powerhouse. But time will tell if that happens. I think I'm hopeful it'll be better than the WrestleMania match. But the bar is pretty low. As long as it's like a decent match, I'll be pretty satisfied. Brian, yes, I agree. I miss Hurt Business. I really enjoyed their run when they're at the top. And every time they remind us about the Hurt Business, it's such a reminder about just how they dropped the ball of that. And I think I really think it's a shame in that regard. Like, they really had some of the Hurt Business, and they broke up. Then they got back together, and they dropped the ball again, which is even worse. So definitely a bummer over that. But looking through everything else here, we had, as we talked about Ezekiel, we talked about the six man. We got through Veer, but we had Edge and Damian Priest here. Talk about Miss TV a little bit, and otherwise, 27 title. So we had a little thing with Cody Rhodes. Actually, sorry, we got one comment here from Eddie wondering about Bobby Lashley. Wondering, should Bobby Lashley challenge Roman Reigns? Yeah, Bobby Lashley never lost that title. He got removed due to injury from the Elimination Chamber back in February. Never lost the title. That writes itself. That's a perfectly valid reasoning for a rematch. I thought in some ways that Brock Lesnar might retain WrestleMania to set that rematch up, but at the very least, Roman being champion, he still has Bobby's title, and that'd be a really cool match. That'd be really cool. I would love to see that. So maybe, ideally, maybe they don't draw this Drew thing out too much, and then they do that maybe from Money in the Bank or something, and then maybe circle back to Drew for the UK show, maybe, because again, drawing Drew versus Roman all the way from now to September is a long time, and I hope they do that. That is very, very long. But I absolutely think that'll be a great match to see. Another good match to see is going to be Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes. We had Seth Rollins appreciation night tonight, and he was saying it's my turn to be appreciated. We had the RKO Randy Orton celebration last week. Now it's my turn. He called himself a global sex symbol, an icon, and a visionary. Hamming it up as Seth Rollins does, and he was saying that he was just kind of hyping himself up, and he was saying that Cody Rhodes was trying to steal the spotlight. He's going to prove that he is the spotlight. So hyping up WrestleMania Backlash, this rematch for the show on Sunday. Cody Rhodes comes out and says, congratulations, I respect you, and then they start going back and forth, and then Seth really ups the ante, and he starts saying that, Cody says that Seth is delusional, and Seth fires back and says, you're not only are you delusional, but your father, Dusty Rhodes, was delusional. He wasn't good enough to win the title, and as long as I'm here, neither are you. And at that point, I was like, wow, that is what this feud needed. It took a while, but this feud really needed a little more oomph, and we got it right there. Cody's return so far pretty much has all been about his father, Dusty, wanting to win the title for Dusty, all that stuff, feel-good story. And Seth really twisted the knife and turned it against him there and really brought it. And start brawling. Cody gets upper hand. So, as you might expect. And then he throws Seth's jacket into the crowd. But the promo here, that's what I was hoping for all along. A little more heat, a little more intensity there. We got it here. So I was already excited for the match because you can imagine it's going to be a good match. But now we're getting the story. Now we're getting a little more of that intensity and more of the bitter conflict. But as Brian points out, you got maybe some concern there. Cody got the one-up on Seth tonight. Maybe Seth will be in his head a little bit on Sunday. Maybe Seth will win on Sunday. Then you do the 50-50 as WWE does. And then we get the trilogy, third match at Hell in a Cell. You can see it. You can see it. It's what WWE does a lot of the time. Again, I wouldn't mind so much because this was really the first time we've really seen them go deep with a promo like this. I feel like if they really kind of take the gloves off and really start going to town with like some deep cutting promos, I'm not saying like roast AW. I'm not saying like have Seth insult Cody's father, Dusty, every single week, but start kind of upping the ante and make it a little more intense. I think they could draw it out a little bit. Again, I am skeptical because, again, more often than not, I don't want things to be drawn out because it feels like sometimes the feuds struggle to be interesting for 1 month for one show, let alone 3 in this case. Technically, Cody showed up at WrestleMania, but everyone knew he'd be the guy that Rollins faced WrestleMania. So I wouldn't mind all that much if they do this out again, because like after Seth, I don't know what's next for Cody. It's like I think maybe he'll challenge for the title at SummerSlam, but again, that's a ways away. He's going to need something essentially from if this is the end on Sunday, he's going to need something for May and June and July, really. So maybe they draw it out more for June, and then you have something for Cody temporarily for July, maybe. Not just saying roast AW, it's fine. I mean, they could, but I more meant that like Cody literally said in I think multiple interviews that he's done so far that he didn't want anybody really on WWE TV to insult AW because like that's something he's here to do and he doesn't really want that. One option would be having Cody win Money in the Bank. I've seen that idea as well, but if that is to have him win the title and like do that for Dusty, you've got to think that he's going to want to do it the honorable way to actually earn it, to really like earn a title shot and beat the champion. And Money in the Bank isn't necessarily doing that in that traditional way. So I feel like that'll more be probably be the route that Cody follows there. But when Cody does win the title, he has at least hinted that he wants to bring back the Winged Eagle title. I mean, they don't have to make it all that complicated. We got Eddie wondering how you might do that. He brought back the Retro IC title in 2011. You could easily just say like, hey, I love history and I decided to go retro. I have a new title. Here you go. Like that doesn't need to be anything all that crazy there. And it's also not crazy to say that, as Steven says, that Cody versus Seth may be the best match on pay-per-view, could be better than their match at WrestleMania. Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. They're both great. They're both very talented. I think sometimes like the rematch can often be better than the first match. And these guys have faced each other before, I'm fairly certain. But the first time in a while, it kind of work out the kinks a little bit. And then they've been facing each other at live events. So there you go. They've been working together. Pretty fair to expect they've gotten to know each other better in terms of like as in-ring opponents. So I think it stands to reason that they will be more kind of in tune with each other on Sunday. So I think it's a safe bet. Also worth pointing out, before Sunday, on Friday, I believe, Cody will be on Broken Skull Sessions. This man has done like all the media in the past like 2 weeks. He's done After the Bell, Out of Character, and now on Friday, Broken Skull Sessions. So check that out. He's covered a lot of ground in his interviews so far, but the Stone Cold Sessions is always great. Stone Cold always digs a little deeper and asks different / unique questions. So I'm sure that'll be worth listening as well. And that leads us to the 6-woman tag team match for the main event. We had Asuka, Liv Morgan, and Bianca Belair, the Raw Women's Champion, facing Sonya Deville, whose power was stripped tonight so she could just be a competitor, and Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley. Good match. No real complaints. I just thought it was great to have Asuka back on Raw. She returned last week. This was the first time really seeing her fully back on Raw. She got a great pop. It was great to. I mean, in general, it was great to see all 6 women in the main event. That was good. I'm happy to see that. I do think it was weird how none of the women had a match, or I should say, have a match on the card for Sunday. Again, we're talking about how they might add to the match, but again, I don't really know how you could just like randomly throw one together for Bianca or for Becky. Like, I don't know how exactly that would work. So a little odd in that regard, but a good match. I also was a little surprised that Liv Morgan got the pin here. That she got the pin for the win. Like Liv Morgan got the win. Not just as Liv getting the pin was nice. I mean, I kind of thought that it would have been better in some ways to have Asuka get the pin to like really say, okay, Asuka is back. She pinned, whether it was Sonya Deville, which probably would have been likely. I think that would have been a good idea. Not that she even needs it. I'm just saying, like, you know, she's already established, but as a kind of a clear reminder, like, oh, Asuka's back and she's like better than ever. That was kind of my preference. But Liv got the win, and good for her. You know, to get that win in this match in the main event and to end the night standing tall. Again, a little weird that none of these women are on WrestleMania Backlash right now, but maybe they'll get added. Maybe they won't. And if they don't, I think that's a shame, but we'll see. We'll wait and see what happens. DJ says he enjoyed seeing how Becky acknowledged the Becky Lynch fans sign, even though she's a heel. Yeah, I mean, Becky Lynch still she's the man of the people, feel the big time backs of the people. But yeah, no real complaints here, just other than thinking it was a little weird how this didn't, sitting here today at least, this didn't directly impact WrestleMania Backlash. Nando says pairing Liv and Asuka would be fun. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Asuka, and I think that we were talking about earlier that they need more tag teams. I would rather see Asuka quickly rise up the ranks here and reestablish herself as a single star contender. But down the road, because you could see her back in a tag team again. She's great as a tag team wrestler as well. So why not? Why not, I say. But Nash agrees, Asuka pinning Becky would also make sense, even though, as she said, that Liv getting the pin was nice. I mean, yeah, I think she could have easily pinned Sonya. Like, you could have easily had Asuka pin Sonya, protects Becky, protects Rhea Ripley from taking a pointless loss, but they went with Liv, and that's fine. But Steven points out as well, lots of options they can go with for Bianca. Could be Sonya again, could be Becky, could be Asuka, could be Rhea Ripley. Any one of them. And Steven also says maybe we get a triple threat of Becky, Asuka, and Bianca. That'd be great. And again, we were talking about that a little earlier. I don't think they're going to throw it out together for WrestleMania Backlash. I do think they could do that at some point soon. I don't see why not. Why not? I think that'd be fun. But otherwise, that's pretty much the gist of it here. So we can start talking about our ratings for the show. But DJ wonders, they had a vignette briefly. He's asking about they had like a vignette during Raw for someone wearing black boots and maroon pants. As far as I could tell, this was just Bobby Lashley's entrance. Like, I thought they were doing something kind of like a vignette or something, but it was it was an enhanced entrance for Bobby Lashley. Because, like, if I'm thinking of the right thing, they had him on a podium and there's like dramatic music. And then it was Bobby Lashley's music. Like, I could be wrong, but I thought that was the thing. I didn't think it was any newcomer or anything. And then I thought it was weird. Like, yeah, they tweeted about it saying, like, who could it be? Any guesses? But then I thought that was Bobby Lashley. So I could be wrong on that one. And if so, that's weird because I seen her. I was doing play-by-play, so I was watching the show, and I remembered, like, I saw like the kind of the podium and the dramatic entrance, and then I thought that led right into Bobby Lashley's entrance. So then I thought that was Bobby Lashley. So pretty weird in that regard. But for Raw itself here, not a bad show. Not a great go-home show for WrestleMania Backlash. I would have preferred like have a stronger sell for the show on Sunday to make it a little more exciting. Brian says that he'll give the show a 7. Nashville with a 6.7. Nando rated the show earlier. I'm trying to find what you had said. As always, your scale is always 6 ducks and 8 hen eggs from that friend show, Nando. Not a bad show by any means. 8 for Laura August is 8 with a birthday cake for her. Happy birthday, Laura. There you go. I hope you have a good week. I would go for like a 6.8, and maybe that's generous as always. I feel like I rate too highly. Like, I didn't think the show was like awful. I thought it was like pretty slow. But granted, I was also doing play-by-play, so like I feel like the kind of thing makes the show drag out a little bit when you have to like write down everything that happens. But even without that, I thought it was a little slow. Like, it dragged a little bit. You didn't really have all that much like selling power for the show on Sunday. I thought that was a little disappointing. Should also point out, big news story for today was Roderick Strong reportedly from Fightful Select requesting his release multiple times this past year for just being frustrated with things that have happened over the past few months. Obviously, Adam Cole leaving, Kyle O'Reilly leaving. That's, I would imagine, would be a factor. But otherwise, the 2.0 revamp could be a factor as well. Diamond Mine was featured at first, and now they're gone, essentially. You've got the Creed brothers and Roderick Strong still standing tall. So I don't blame Roderick Strong at all, assuming that's true. Unfortunately, WWE, the report said that they reportedly said that they still have plans for him, so they do not plan to honor that request. And I'm like, you're going to release people for no reason. And like Mustafa Ali, you're not going to release people that want to leave. That does not seem right to me. I think that's an absolute shame. Like, I can't even lie. Like, I would love to see Roderick Strong show up in AEW and reunite with Adam Cole and the rest of the Undisputed Era. Like, I think that would be great. But Michael says him repeatedly requesting his release is like him repeatedly, like what is like Michael repeatedly requesting personal time off. It's going to get denied. Fair, but again, like WWE literally cut 10 people from NXT on Friday, and they decided to not release him, who reportedly wants to leave. Like, that just does not seem right to me. And now that we have talked about this for months and months now, so many Triple H guys from the Black and Gold era of NXT are gone, and now they're in AEW. And again, I've said it before, that's why I like, in a lot of ways, I've become a big fan of AEW, seeing guys like at the time Aleister Black, Andrade, Adam Cole, a bunch of other guys that I really, really enjoyed in WWE go to AEW. Kind of cause and effect. Like, they were in WWE. I enjoy them here, and now they're over there. So now I enjoy them over there. It's a weird time. I would, again, I don't root for anyone to lose their jobs, but if he wants out, like, I would want that for him so he would have that freedom to do what he wants to do. He has always struck me as a wrestler's wrestler. So being in a company that increasingly makes clear like that's not their priority in some ways. That's my 2 cents on it. Eddie points out that Roderick Strong wasn't Cody Rhodes' like list of dream matches. Maybe that's why they sent him off. Would that be great? Yes. Would that be a great match? Yes. Do I think they should do that? Yes. Do I think that'll happen? Maybe at a live show. Because like in WWE's perspective, they very clearly have a divide between the main event and the main roster and NXT. So like I don't think they would bring Roderick up and have that match just to like to release him. I think that'd be weird. I think that'd be a great match though. I'd like to see it. If they don't release him, I hope that becomes a reality. And again, I'm not saying like I'm saying release him as in like he wants out. I'm not saying if they cut him like everyone else. Like no, he wants to be freed from his contract to do whatever he wants to do. And Steven points out, speaking of Roderick Show matches, him versus Samoa Joe, that'd be great. That'd be a shout out to the old days of Ring of Honor. Love that. That'd be awesome. Roderick Strong, it'd be so cool to see him pop up in Ring of Honor. He had a great run there years ago. Would love to see that. If they don't release him and he stays, I hope they use him. I hope that it works out for him. I hope that he's that they make the most of his talent and that he makes the most of it, whatever they do. But yeah, Eddie, as I said, I would love to see him reunite with the Undisputed Era, but for now, it seems like he'll be sticking around, whether he wants to or not, because contracts are tricky. And again, I'm not gonna say it's a shame that someone's going to keep their job. It's a shame they're going to like make him stay again because they keep cutting people who don't want to leave, who are cut and heartbroken in a lot of ways. Like that's the really crappy part. So I could rant about that much longer, but we're getting into the wee hours of the morning here. Speaking of, we talked about the cuts a little bit on Friday. Michael says he's going to miss Bivens, Dakota Kai, and Persia Parada. Parada could have been the next JBL of that fallaway slam. All three very, very talented. I think it's a shame. Big fan of Dexter Lumis. I was crushed by that one, especially because I love Index. That one's going to be a sore subject for me for a while because that is just heartbreaking for me. As an Index fan specifically, like that just sucks. And it does. Like there's just no getting around it. So again, hopefully, I don't know. I can't say again. I feel weird saying, "Oh, hopefully they release him," but like if he wants to leave, like I don't want to say, "Oh, hopefully he stays." Like it's just weird. It's a weird situation. Nanda says, speaking of Samoa Joe, him as Ring of Honor TV champion is awesome. It is, and says he was allowed to see Samoa Joe versus CM Punk one more time. Oh, that'd be great. That would be great. Those two guys had some absolute legendary matches back in the day, and now they're both in AEW. So I imagine that will be a reality at some point. But this is the Raw show. This is the Raw show. We're talking about WWE. Next show, we're talking about NXT as well. I'm still sad about Index. I mean, it's sad. Steven says, don't know what to expect from NXT anymore. I don't know what to expect. We're gonna see NXT Spring Break-In tonight. Now it's already the wee hours of Tuesday morning tonight. Tuesday night Spring Break-In. I'll be here for the post show for that one. DJ asked me about former WWE stars, the Iconics, or also known as the Inspiration, stepping away from wrestling temporarily. They announced that. I'm not sure exactly why. It's worth pointing out they announced they're stepping away from wrestling and not Impact. So they might, like, the thought was maybe they're going to be doing something not specifically like not wrestling, but with Impact for now. Again, I'm not sure what's going on there. Admittedly, I don't follow Impact as closely as I would like to. Again, so much wrestling, and when I'm consuming it, five days pretty much full time of the week. Impact's on Thursdays, and like it's a hard sell to get me to watch on Thursdays sometimes. Even though my favorite wrestler Matt Cardona is there, even though they have a great roster, even though they've been doing great stuff, I keep up with it. I try to catch it when I can. But I can't really comment about that too much. The Iconics, they were controversial in WWE. I'm glad that they got to have more success outside WWE. They work great together. I think they're a great heel team. So I'm glad they got to have success and Impact as well. I hope they come back at some point sooner rather than later. It was, I believe, Jessie McKay, not formerly known as Billy Kay, has a movie role. That's right now. She has a movie role that's in the fall. So maybe that's one reason that they're taking some time away from wrestling right now. That makes sense. So hopefully they'll come back at some point soon. They're both very talented. And I agree, Nash. Matt Cardona is absolutely everywhere. Shout out to Matt Cardona. He's doing great stuff as well. But I mean, yeah, it's like I used to like Impact used to be on Tuesdays, I believe, and I'm like, cool. Like if it was on and if I'm working, not to say I only watch it if it's my job to, but that's a factor. Like that's a factor. I'm like I'm watching for work 3 nights of WWE, AEW on Wednesday, 2 shows AEW and SmackDown on Friday, or at least covering them, and then Sundays if there's a show on Sunday as well. And like, oh my gosh, like it's great. It's great. There's so much wrestling. It's wonderful. But my gosh, like especially like Thursday nights, I'm like, that's my time just kind of to get away a little bit to the best I can, with exceptions. If there's like a WWE event and I need to cover it, like I do, or if there's a schedule change and I work, I do, obviously. But like if it's a normal week, I'm off on Thursdays, more often than not, you can expect I'll be doing something else, because then that way I'm a little more fresh the days I am working. So again, shout out to Impact. I know they're doing great stuff. I keep up with it. Like I'll read the results. I write up like stuff that's happening. I'm like, oh wow, this sounds really cool. And then I'm like, Thursday comes yet again. I'm like, 8 p.m. on a Thursday. I'm like, oh man, like, and then I'm usually doing something else. I'm like, damn. One of these days, they're doing great stuff. Again, that's the only downside of having so much wrestling to enjoy. There's so much wrestling to enjoy, and sometimes you gotta choose, and they're like, it's kind of just like, at least kind of draining of like just keeping up with all of it. So like, nonetheless, we try. Nesha points out she watched on the weekend. I'm thinking about getting into that, because like, especially the days there's not a show on Sunday, I could easily kind of catch up on some of this stuff, like NXT UK. Another one I should be watching, and I just often like falls by the wayside. I want to watch New Japan Strong. I want to watch Impact. I want to watch NXT UK. Maybe I'll start trying to like juggle them a little bit, especially like on the weekends. Maybe. So again, especially on Sundays, I'm working anyway, but that's a problem for future me. But that being said here, folks, we got through Raw. I'll be here again Tuesday night on NXT, talking about NXT 2.0, Spring Break-In, not Spring Break-In, Spring Break-In with a hyphen. Did a bit of a weird name, but it's the beginning of spring officially, so that's fun. It'll be a fun card. But that being said, folks, thank you all so much for coming here and talking wrestling with me. I appreciate it so much. DJ, though, got to correct you there, saying the Dark Side of the Ring is gone. They said, Vice TV said we remain committed to Dark Side of the Ring, and stay tuned. It said that the show creators are working on something that he knows the fans are going to enjoy. So definitely stay tuned to that one. And then one of the showrunners also like kind of put out a tweet basically laughing at the reports of their demise, essentially saying like, I am not dead yet. It seems like they're cooking something up. So I really do like Dark Side of the Ring, and I'm very hopeful it'll come back at some point soon. So I wrote up an article about that today, so if you want to check that out as well. It wasn't renewed, but they might be working on something. So just maybe, I don't know. At the very least, maybe Dark Side of the Ring. I don't. The tweet made me believe that, like, it's not gone, but it has not been renewed at the same time, supposedly. I don't know. That was from Vice TV, though. They said they are still very committed to Dark Side of the Ring. So it seems like it'll be back in some capacity at some point. So with that being said, thank you all so much for talking about the wild world of wrestling with me here on this Monday evening, late into the early morning on Tuesday. As I said, here on Tuesday for NXT Spring Break-In. Should be here on Friday for Friday Night SmackDown, the SmackDown post-show. I'll be here on Sunday for the WrestleMania Backlash post-show. Not sure about John yet. We'll wait and see how he's feeling to come then. But, that'll be hopefully a good show. We'll give some more predictions throughout the week here, probably on the SmackDown show especially, because that'll be the actual go-home show. But with all that in mind, the world outside, as always, a very scary place. But we come here together to do one thing above all of this, my friends, and that is to enjoy wrestling. Thanks for listening, everybody.